very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashingtani Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. World Bank predicts Sri Lanka's growth to be at 3.3% in this year. Ancient Dutch Canal will be converted to a major tourism attraction, says State Minister of Tourism Promotion. News in detail. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa emphasizes that an education system which is student-centric while being realistic with the talents of different students should be made viable. The President made these remarks addressing the General Convocation of the General Sir John Kuthalawala Defence University, which was held at the BMICH last Friday. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who participated as the chief guest for the General Convocation of the General Sir John Kuthalawala Defence University, also delivered the convocation lecture. President Rajapaksa also presented awards for the outstanding graduates in the year 2019 out of 1,282 graduates. He also stressed that the General Sir John Kuthalawala Defence University should strive to be an exemplary higher education institution not just in Sri Lanka but in the region as well.
It is important to remember that all children are not alike. Different children have different skills, interests, and aptitudes. Unfortunately, all too often, schools and parents force their children to pursue fields of study that the children themselves are not interested or even suited for. This will result in their not enjoying their education and their future careers, and may result in their having a much lower quality of life. To prevent this, it is essential that the education system becomes truly student-centric. It must recognize that every student is unique and the different pathways should be made available to them.
The World Bank in its January 2020 Global Economic Prospect says that the growth in Sri Lanka continued to soften in 2019 to an estimated 2.7% as tourist arrivals collapsed following terror attacks in April. The report also mentions that Central Bank of Sri Lanka eased its policy stance with cuts in interest rates and reserve requirements in response to subdued economic activity.
According to the latest report by the World Bank, Sri Lanka's growth is projected to advance to 3.3% in 2020. The World Bank expects an acceleration afterwards, which will be supported by recovering investment and exports as long as the security challenges and political uncertainty of 2019 disappear. The report also adds that the growth is seen to stabilize around 3.7% over the rest of the forecast horizon in line with potential growth. Lack of progress in reforms to improve tax collection could result in more acute revenue shortfalls in Sri Lanka and put further pressure on elevated fiscal deficits. The report also warns, saying that unexpected tightening in global financing conditions could sharply raise borrowing costs and lead to stops in capital inflows for countries with elevated debt levels and large current accounts. However, World Bank forecasts that growth in Bangladesh would remain above 7% throughout the forecast horizon with a solid macroeconomic framework, political stability, implementation of planned public infrastructure projects, and ongoing reforms to improve the business environment under this projection. In overall, growth in South Asia is projected to gradually pick up over the forecast period from 4.9% in 2019 to 6% in 2022. At the same time, the report also says Sri Lanka could benefit from that regional economic activities such as policy accommodation, improvement in business confidence, and support from infrastructure investments.
The Asian Development Bank announces that it will review a proposal to invest $100 million in a credit guarantee firm which will serve small and medium-sized enterprises of Sri Lanka in February. The ADB has initially approved the project in February 2017 following due approval by the Cabinet of Ministers in 2016.
Asian Development Bank has taken time for a fact-finding mission to support setting up the new non-bank finance firm as requested by the Sri Lankan government. The finance firm will be set up through the Treasury with a $0.5 million technical assistance grant from the ADB. ADB also announced that a management review meeting will be held on the 24th of February as the final step before a project is presented to the ADB board for approval. The initial concept paper for the project was accepted by the ADB in February 2017 after submitting a report to the cabinet in 2016. SMEs make up 52% of Sri Lanka's gross domestic product but have trouble accessing finance to expand their businesses due to a highly traditional and risk-averse banking sector. The ADB stressed that the new guarantee institution should be well-funded, efficiently managed, financially sustainable, removed from political influence, operated with the highest level of corporate governance, and subject to central bank regulation and supervision. Meanwhile, an official from the Treasury said that the ADB has already provided a $175 million credit line to support SMEs in Sri Lanka with a special focus on empowering women-owned businesses.
State Minister of Tourism Promotion Arundhika Fernando says Sri Lanka Tourism, together with several other ministries, will redevelop Hamilton Canal to a major tourism attraction similar to canals in Europe, since the rich flora and fauna near the canal is ideal for ecotourism. Explaining further on this proposal, State Minister of Tourism Promotion Arundhika Fernando notes that Hamilton Canal, which is a 14.5-kilometer canal connecting Puttalam to Colombo, passing through Negombo, will be an ideal tourist attraction if it is redeveloped with international standards. The canal was constructed by the British in 1802 and completed by 1804 and is of much environmental importance since the area is home to different species of fish, birds and plants and rich in biodiversity. Developing the Hamilton Canal was first undertaken by then Economic Development Minister Basil Rajapaksa in 2008 and 600 million rupees was invested under a development plan drawn by the Moratuwa University. Minister added that the canal will be connected to the Colombo port city, making it a more viable venture, offering land for investors to open restaurants and motels around the Dutch Canal. Fernando also said that a scheduled passenger boat service to Fort, attracting the office staff, will be launched, easing the traffic congestion. In addition, a mini cruise too would be introduced starting from the Colombo port city, he further informed. Thus, the Ministry of Fisheries, Urban Development Authority, the Sri Lanka Lands Reclamation Corporation and Provincial Road Development Authority and provincial councils will be engaged in making this project a success. Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. A relief package for small and medium-sized enterprises was announced by the Finance Ministry last week, and it was also informed that the SMEs in non-performing loan category would get access to working capital loans with a 6-month repayment period and a 3-month grace period at a maximum interest rate of 10%. Accordingly, it was also reported that the Cabinet of Ministers will be briefed on the SME relief package this week by Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Mahinda Rajapaksa.
We thought while rescheduling these loans, they should get some working capital. Otherwise, this whole exercise is not fruitful. So again, we are introducing, or we have asked the banks to provide 3 months working capital with 3 months grace, and they have to pay within 6 months, because just giving or rescheduling the loan at this moment, it's not in a way practical, useful. That's why the government thought of giving a working capital loan.
Speaking further, Secretary to the Treasury and Ministry of Finance, Estar Article added that the central bank decides to set up a credit guarantee scheme to safeguard the banking sector when granting working capital loans to small and medium-sized enterprises in non-performing loan grouping under the proposed SME relief package.
Credit guarantee scheme is introduced, that is from the bank side to give them some comfort. We are introducing this credit guarantee scheme, so banks can, it's not compulsory. If banks wants to come, they have to pay just 1% and come into this scheme. Then 75% of the loans will be guaranteed from that fund. Central bank has some funds, So we have earmarked about 5 billion for this, and central bank will look after that. There would be no pressure immediately to the government budget.
As per the directives of the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the Irrigation Department has decided to renovate 75 major tanks affiliated to the Irrigation Department using departmental staff and its own heavy machinery and equipment, and without the contractors under the Irrigation Prosperity Program. Irrigation Director of Water Management Janaki Meegastanna said that the removal of sediment and clearing shrub jungle and weeds near the tanks, rehabilitation of dilapidated agriculture roads, along with water flowing and flood protection dams, removal of unwanted aquatic plants like Japanjabara salvinia, and attending to the urgent repairs as requested by the farmer organizations concerning the country's major tanks network would be executed at district level, having been initiated from Hambantota and Matra districts. Janaki Meegastanna highlighted that under this program, contracts will not be granted to the private sector since it is envisaged that work is given on the ongoing contractual basis would cost around 500 million rupees. She explained that, however, the task would be completed at a cost of 50 million rupees if carried out by using the Irrigation Department staff, heavy machinery and equipment. The cost to be incurred is only for fuel, machinery, equipment, servicing and payment of overtime allowances and limited other allowances for the departmental workforce detailed for the implementation of the particular development project under this irrigational property development program. The Employees Association of the Finance Company has asked the central bank to reorganize the troubled finance company and prevent its closure. The Employees Union of the Finance Company has made this request via a proposal to the central bank.
The central bank cancelled the license issued to the finance company with effect from the 23rd October last year to safeguard the interests of the depositors and other creditors. As directed by the central bank, the company was taking some measures during recent months but was unable to identify prospective investors or to restructure the company to a satisfactory level. In such a situation, TFC's Employees Union, submitting a proposal to the central bank, seek the permission to call for new investors, grant a concession loan of 12 billion rupees and giving new investors a 90% stake in the company. The union stresses that all their effort is to recognizing the company as a viable financial institute. The union has also proposed issuing a new IPO of 15% of the revised shares through the stock market 5 years after the initial investment and paying back the loans given by the Sri Lanka Deposit Insurance Fund through the members within 10 years after a 5-year grace period. They also propose that the company has to appoint a new board of directors, and the proposals include the instructions on the manner to form the new board of directors.
Stay tuned for stock updates after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The all-share price index dropped 6.88 points to close at 5,980.67, and the S&P SL 20 dropped 13.78 points to close at 2,816.98. The turnover was 1 billion rupees and over 58 million shares were traded. Up next are forex rates. And that's all the news for today, and log into our Facebook page to get the latest news and updates. Also, don't forget to send us your comments, views and opinions via our email address and hotline. With that, we'll be signing out for today. See you tomorrow at the same time. Until then, take care. Bye.